Senate's first debate over the weekend, Hill.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the status UN summit. A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang.
For thousands of years, one breath has endured. More than a martial art, it is the Korean way of life. Taekwondo, connecting the world. Smarter than ever, Taekwondo leaps toward a new future, connecting the world through a single movement. The spirit of Korea meets the boundless energy of K-pop. No longer just a sport, Taekwondo is at the heart of K-culture, bringing Korea's spirit to the world. A beautiful culture, connecting heart to heart. We now strive to safeguard Taekwondo's community training culture as a treasured heritage for all humanity. The pride of Korea, Taekwondo.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. The extreme heat gripping South Korea is now spreading across the capital region. Seoul is expected to hit 38 degrees Celsius today, while parts of Gyeonggi-do province could soar to 39 degrees. The number of heat-related deaths this year has now risen to 19. And authorities are urging people to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activities. South Korea's cabinet has approved a reform bill that would strip prosecutors of their investigative powers. This would leave prosecutors with the authority to decide whether to file charges based on evidence gathered by police or other investigative agencies, and would only be able to request additional investigations when deemed necessary. Senior U.S. officials say Washington and Tehran could reach a deal as early as Tuesday or Wednesday to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran insists it is negotiating with Oman and not directly with the United States. We begin this morning with a major overhaul of South Korea's criminal justice system as the cabinet approved a sweeping prosecution reform bill on Tuesday afternoon. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin starts us off.
The first step toward normalizing an abnormal criminal justice system. That's how President Lee Jae-myung described the amendment to Korea's Criminal Procedure Act approved by the cabinet on Tuesday.
수사 기소 분리는 이러한 비정상적 형사사법 시스템을 정상화하는 첫 출발입니다.
The amendment strips prosecutors of their remaining direct investigative powers. It will leave prosecutors with the authority to decide whether to file charges based on evidence gathered by police or other investigative agencies. They would only be able to request additional investigations when deemed necessary. Previously, prosecutors could directly question suspects or witnesses and collect additional evidence after receiving cases from police. Speaking ahead of the cabinet's deliberation, Lee argued that prosecutors have long exercised excessive authority across the criminal justice process from investigations to prosecutions.
검찰 내의 일부 집단은 기소를 위해서 수사할 수 있다라는 이 권한을 무소불위로 악용하며 있는 사건을 덮거나 누군가를 정해놓고 처벌하기 위해 별건 수사, 먼지털이 표적 수사를 관행처럼 되풀이해 왔습니다.
At the same time, Lee acknowledged growing concerns over concentrating investigative powers in the hands of the police, saying follow-up measures would be needed.
명백한 수사상의 비위를 저지른다 그러면 최소 해임 파면해야 되지 않냐. 제가 보기에는. 아니면 아예 영구적으로 수사는 앞으로 하지 말고 다른 일 해라.
The revised act requires police to complete supplementary investigations requested by prosecutors within 1 month. The deadline may be extended by up to 1 additional month. The investigative rules until now allowed up to 3 months, but the amendment shortens the time frame and codifies it into law. And those who fail to comply with requests for supplementary investigations could face disciplinary action, while cases may also be reassigned to another investigative unit. The revision will take effect on October 2nd, the day 2 new government agencies, one responsible for investigations and the other for prosecutions, are set to be launched. 송유진, Arirang News.
South Korea's relentless heat wave is now centered on the capital region, with Seoul becoming the hottest place in the country as temperatures continue to shatter summer records. The extreme weather is taking a growing toll, leaving more people dead or hospitalized, while forcing the cancellation of professional baseball games and sending dozens of fans for treatment. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
South Korea's record-breaking heat wave is now tightening its grip on the capital region, with Seoul emerging as the hottest place in the country. The extreme heat that first scorched the country's eastern regions has steadily spread westward, shifting the center of the heat wave towards Seoul and the surrounding metropolitan area. On Tuesday, Seoul's official daytime high climbed to 36.9 degrees Celsius, setting a new high for the summer for the second straight day. Unofficial readings in districts including Gangnam-gu and Guro-gu topped 39 degrees. Forecasters say the heat will intensify again on Wednesday, with Seoul expected to reach 38 degrees, while the cities of Hanam and Osan in Gyeonggi-do province could soar to 39 degrees. The prolonged heat is also taking a growing toll on public health. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency says 2 more people died from heat-related causes on Tuesday, bringing this year's death toll to 19. The number of heat-related illnesses has now surpassed 2,200 nationwide. Health authorities reported 186 new cases in a single day, raising the cumulative total this year to 2,221. The scorching weather has also disrupted professional sports. The Korea Baseball Organization canceled 2 Tuesday evening games because of the extreme heat. The NC Dinos versus the Doosan Bears in Seoul, and the KT Wiz against the Kia Tigers in Gwangju. At another KBO game between the SSG Landers and the LG Twins in Incheon, 25 spectators were treated after showing symptoms of suspected heat-related illness. 2 of them suffered serious symptoms, including a reduced level of consciousness, and were taken to a nearby hospital. With dangerous temperatures expected to continue, health officials are urging people to stay hydrated, avoid prolonged outdoor activities, and seek immediate medical attention if signs of heat-related illness appear. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Earlier this week, former Republican Congresswoman from California, Michelle Parks Steele, arrived in Seoul as the U.S. ambassador to South Korea, making her the second Korean American to serve in the post. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Kim Young-jun, professor at the National Security College at the Korean National Defense University. Professor Kim, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me today.
So Steele, she's now taking on a post that had been vacant for 18 months, right? And amid trade tensions and growing geopolitical uncertainty. So how does she differ from previous U.S. ambassadors to Korea, and what impact do you expect her appointment to have on the South Korea-U.S. alliance?
Yeah, but this is a very important moment. As you said, the new ambassador is the first female Korean American ambassador who was born in Korea and speak Korean fluently as a mother language. And we had already Sung Kim as the first Korean American ambassador, but she is the first female ambassador, and she and her husband also and GOP member, the Republican members of the the American politics. And she'll be a great bridge between the U.S. and the ROC. And she is just typical American perspective of North Korea, and we can use her as a great bridge to the White House.
Right, and there are expectations that her appointment could help move forward the implementation of the joint fact sheet agreed between the two countries, including especially security consultations that have remained stalled till now. So what areas do you think could see progress first?
Yeah, the U.S. and the ROC have many tasks to be solved and developed, like tariff, investment, and nuclear power submarine, and nuclear enrichment and reprocessing right, open transfer, and others. Although many different positions between the two countries on different issues, the EU ambassador understand what is different and what is the commonality. So she'll be a great channel for more communication and share commonality rather than differences. So U.S. already agree on the South Korean suggestion on the investment in Texas, for example, and we will have a more communication and task to be solved by using her position as a Korean American.
Right, and she's also known for having long-standing conservative positions on North Korea and China. How might her position and appointment shape U.S. policy toward the Korean Peninsula and the broader Indo-Pacific region?
Yeah, her perspective on North Korea and China seems like conservative in the South Korean context, but her opinion on North Korea and China is a typical normal geopolitician who is hawkish position against China and North Korea for human rights abuse, dictatorship, and others. So her position is nothing different from other American politicians. And she is not particular ultra-wing warrior in the U.S. political context. So she is used to be familiar with the Korean conservative, but this is also not particular one because that is common and usual. So as a diplomat, not as a politician, the new ambassador will do her job with a different idea and philosophy, and she'll be a great diplomat between the U.S. and the Korea. And her position is not very much conservative in the U.S. context, so we need to understand what her policy and idea on North Korea as a politician, but her job as a diplomat now.
Right, and her appointment has drawn mixed reactions here in South Korea. Conservative supporters view her close ties with President Donald Trump as an asset, while progressive civic groups staged a protest when she arrived in Incheon Airport. And they labeled her as a right-wing figure. So how are they likely to affect her ability to carry out her diplomatic role here in Korea?
Yeah, before her coming, some Korean politicians and experts criticized her position on North Korea and China as well. But her position is very normal in the GOP politics and other American politicians. So we need to understand U.S. context, not South Korean context on North Korea. So her appointment as a diplomat is a Trump position on Korea as a Korean American. There's more communication and more smooth bridge between the two countries, not as a particular ultra-wing politics on North Korea. So still, appointment is a great opportunity for South Korea. As a Korean American, she understands Korean culture and the sense of political issue. So we can use her position to more better communication to the White House.
Right, we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Kim, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
U.S. stocks rallied to record highs on Tuesday after reports that negotiations between the United States and Iran over shipping through the Strait of Hormuz had made progress, easing concerns over global energy supplies. The Dow Jones Industrial Average surged 1.71%, while the S&P 500 climbed 1.79% to its first record close in 2 months. The tech-heavy Nasdaq jumped 2.59%. The optimism also sent oil prices sharply lower. Brent crude for October delivery fell 5.3% to settle at $79.36 a barrel on the ICE Futures Exchange, while the West Texas Intermediate crude for September delivery dropped 5.7% to close at $75.70 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Japan's latest security assessment calls for closer coordination with Seoul and Washington amid growing regional threats. The document has also prompted an immediate protest from Seoul with its unjustified claim over Korea's Dokdo islets. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young has the details.
Seoul has called on Tokyo to retract its repeated claim over the Korean islets of Dokdo, published in Japan's latest defense white paper. In a regular briefing Tuesday, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Park Do-sun responded to Japan's territorial claim made for the 22nd consecutive year.
The government strongly protests Japan's renewed unjust claim to Dokdo in its defense white paper and urges its immediate withdrawal. Dokdo is clearly Korean territory historically, geographically, and under international law. Japan's claim has no bearing whatsoever on Korea's sovereignty over Dokdo, and the government will respond firmly to any provocation concerning Dokdo.
Seoul's position is clear. There is no territorial dispute. Dokdo has long been Korean territory under international law and historical records. The Korean Empire formally placed the islets under Uldo-gun County in 1900, 5 years before Japan attempted to incorporate them. Korea also maintains effective control, with police personnel, government facilities, and civilian residents stationed there. The Japanese embassy's minister, Kazuo Chujo, was called into the foreign ministry at around 3 p.m. Despite the renewed claim, Japan's white paper called Korea an important neighbouring country and partner for the 3rd year in a row. Tokyo said cooperation with Seoul was increasingly important in responding to North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, as well as maritime security threats and major disasters. It also stressed closer trilateral coordination among Korea, Japan, and the United States. The document warned that a crisis similar to Russia's invasion of Ukraine could also occur in East Asia. China's growing military activity was again described as Japan's greatest strategic challenge. Tokyo pointed to Beijing's operations around Taiwan, its expanding presence in the Western Pacific, and closer military coordination with Russia. It also raised concern over joint Chinese and Russian bomber flights and naval activity near Japan. North Korea's expanding military cooperation with Russia was also highlighted as another major threat. Tokyo warned that the transfer of weapons, technology, and operational experience could strengthen Pyongyang's military capabilities over time. The assessment comes as Japan moves to revise its key national security documents and further strengthen its defense posture. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, says Pyongyang will draw up additional military options in response to Japan's expanding strike capabilities. In a statement carried by state media on Wednesday, Kim Yo-jong cited Japan's participation in U.S.-led drills in the Philippines and its first live launch of a Tomahawk cruise missile on July 28. She accused Japan of restructuring its forces for preemptive attacks and overseas operations. Tokyo signed a deal with Washington in 2024 to acquire 400 Tomahawk missiles between 2025 and 2027. The missiles have a range of up to 2,500 kilometers. Kim claimed the test involved a weapon capable of reaching North Korea and blamed the United States for enabling it. Over in the Middle East, diplomatic efforts are gathering pace to restore shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, which remains largely blocked. Washington and Tehran have both reported progress. Our Lee Soo-jin has more.
A deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz could be reached within days, according to senior officials in the Trump administration. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Tuesday that Washington was involved in talks between Iran and Oman aimed at allowing more vessels to pass safely through the waterway.
I think that there's a conversation and negotiation that we are involved in between Oman and Iran on how more ships can be able to go through there safely in the short term as we move towards these longer term talks about denuclearization. And suffice it to say, there's been progress made in those talks, but not finality yet. We're hoping that will happen very shortly.
While Rubio was cautious to stress no final agreement had yet been reached, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was more optimistic. Bessent said an agreement could come as early as Tuesday or Wednesday to allow vessels to travel freely through the strait. But he did not directly answer whether Iran would be permitted to charge ships for passage. Tehran, meanwhile, maintains that it is negotiating with Oman, not directly with the United States. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai described those talks as positive and ongoing. Said on Tuesday that they were focused on creating safe shipping lanes while protecting the sovereignty and national security of both Iran and Oman. The strait remains largely blocked following the outbreak of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran in late February. 이수진, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. In the United States, police in Washington state on Monday have arrested a man they say deliberately started one of 3 wildfires burning around Spokane. More than 700 homes and other buildings have burned down around Spokane, and 64,000 people have been told to evacuate. Investigators say 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci set a roadside patch of grass alight with matches or a lighter on Saturday. That fire swept out of State Park into wooded neighborhoods, turning homes to ash and melting cars. The fire burned more than 10,000 acres on the northern edge of Spokane, a city of 230,000. It is still not contained. No deaths have been reported, but officials expect that to change as crews reach areas they currently cannot get to. SpaceX has beaten Wall Street's expectations in its first earnings report as a public company, but its shares fell on Tuesday due to higher than expected spending on its artificial intelligence business. Revenue came in at $7.8 billion, well ahead of forecasts, and up from $4.7 billion in the first quarter. But SpaceX poured $15.8 billion into artificial intelligence, more than double what it spent in the first 3 months of the year. Investors worry that spending on that scale will not pay for itself, and stock slipped in after-hours trading. Starlink, its satellite internet service, has passed 12 million subscribers, doubling from a year earlier. Guatemala is on alert after the Fuego volcano erupted on Monday, sending gas and ash into the sky and sending lava down its slopes. Emergency officials have moved at least 659 people out of 8 villages into shelters and expect about 10 more communities to follow. A major highway near the volcano is closed and schools in nearby towns are shut. The Fuego volcano is one of Central America's most active volcanoes. An eruption in 2018 killed hundreds of people and wiped out an entire village. In Japan, 3 lions have died within a week at a zoo in western Tokyo, and staff believe the heat was the cause. Autopsies found dehydration and multiple organ failure in all 3 animals. A zoo representative said on Monday it is, quote, the first time we've experienced anything like this. 3 more lions are still unwell and unable to stand. Across Japan, more than 43,000 people have been taken to hospital for heat stroke this summer.
Just saying it's hot outside would be an understatement. We're tracking extreme blistering heat focused on the western regions this week, so we can feel the pain of how people in eastern regions must have felt last week. Please stay hydrated and limit outdoor activities. We're talking about life-threatening heat right now. And not only during the daytime, Korea is enduring one of its worst stretches of tropical nights on record. And there could be passing showers of 5 to 40 millimeters for the capital area and Jeollado provinces during the day today. It's not going to help much to relieve the heat, as it will only make things muggier. Meanwhile, Jeju Island could see 5 to 20 millimeters of showers through tomorrow. But until that showers, sunshine will bake much of Korea with a high of 38 degrees Celsius here in the capital and Gwangju. Daejeon makes it to 37 degrees. Daegu will be topping out at 36 degrees Celsius. Unbearable heat will stay with us for a while, so please take it easy and take care in this extreme heat.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
For thousands of years, one breath has endured. More than a martial art, it is the Korean way of life. Taekwondo, connecting the world. Smarter than ever, Taekwondo leaps toward a new future, connecting the world through a single movement. The spirit of Korea meets the boundless energy of K-pop. No longer just a sport, Taekwondo is at the heart of K-culture, bringing Korea's spirit to the world. A beautiful culture, connecting heart to heart. We now strive to safeguard Taekwondo's community training culture as a treasured heritage for all humanity. The pride of Korea, Taekwondo.
오늘은 대한민국 임시정부를 이끌었던 김구 선생님의 백범일지를 살펴볼 거예요. 그분이 평생을 바쳐지키려
한없이 가지고 싶은 것은 높은 문화의 힘입니다. 문화의 힘은 우리 자신을 행복하게 하고 나아가서 남에게 행복을 주기 때문입니다. 나는 우리나라가 세계에서 가장 아름다운 나라가 되기를 원합니다.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Wednesday, August 5th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Hayu.
Good to be here today.
Good to have you also Niles with us.
Good morning.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're now right in the middle of the work week, and with summer in full swing, many people are also entering what's known as diet season. So whether it's simply trying to fit into summer clothes or simply wanting to feel healthier, dieting is something many of us have experienced at some point, unfortunately. So now, have you ever tried dieting? What's your go-to method for when you want to lose weight or become healthier?
I feel like I've tried many different types. I've had the shakes, jump roping, running, exercising, diet freezer meals, and just maybe skipping meals once in a while or intermittent fasting. But I think we want to talk about the fact that I did give birth and gained about 18 to 19 kilos and slowly losing that. It was really just maintaining a healthy meal instead of just starving, having miyeokguk, which was a common thing for Korean girls to eat. So that was my staple go-to, having lots of miyok.
That's a good tip for people who are pregnant, I guess, or are about to give birth. So what about you?
Actually, I have a personal experience with weight loss. So when I was in high school, I lost about 30 kilograms.
30?
So looking
wow.
back, I was always someone who really enjoyed food. And because I spent most of my time sitting and studying as a student, I naturally gained weight over time. But at the time, I was still happy and enjoying my life. So I didn't start this journey because I disliked myself. I simply wanted to build healthier habits and become a healthier version of myself.
On a side note, you did look very happy. I just saw the photos.
I love that.
And I am now as well.
So that is a great reminder that the healthiest motivation often comes from taking care of yourself, not chasing someone else's definition of the perfect body. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. With swim season upon us, many people are feeling the pressure to get in shape and achieve their dream summer bodies. But these days, working out and dieting aren't the only options on the table. Weight loss medications have surged in popularity, with celebrities and everyday people alike turning to injections as a new way to manage their weight. So today on News Generation, we take a closer look at the latest buzz around weight loss injections, how they're being received in Korea, and what our guests think is the best way to achieve a healthier lifestyle. Just as you saw in a video, weight loss injections have quickly become one of the biggest health and beauty trends around the world. And what was once considered a treatment only for specific medical needs is now gaining attention as a new approach to weight management. So before we talk about the trend here in Korea, let's first look at how these medications actually work and why they've become so popular globally. So how do these weight loss GLP-1 drugs help people lose weight?
Yeah, as you mentioned, these have become the latest booms, and it includes things like Saxenda, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. And GLP-1 is actually a natural hormone that's in the body to suppress the appetite. And these medications mimic the effects of the GLP-1 hormone, so it would reduce hunger, help help people stay full longer and supports weight loss by lowering calorie intake itself. And since these medications became available, adult obesity in the United States has fallen from 40% to 37%. This actually represents a significant reduction of approximately 7.6 million obese adults.
Right, so it is interesting to see that these medications are not just a global phenomenon, but also they're making actually a pretty big impact right here in Korea. And the growing demand shows just how much interest there is in finding new ways to manage weight. And that growing interest can also be seen in the numbers, especially since these treatments became available in Korea. So how big has the weight loss drug market become right here at home?
So in Korea, Wegovy was introduced about 2 years ago, and it quickly became a huge topic among people interested in weight management. So in Korea, managing your weight has been connected to not only to health, but also to confidence and social image for a long time. So when these medications became available, they usually attracted a lot of attention, especially on social media. And that interest has continued to grow. Last year, Korea imported around $750 million worth of these types of medicines, which accounted for about 11% of all imported finished pharmaceuticals.
And those numbers show that dieting is more than just a personal choice for many people. It's also connected to social expectations and beauty standards. In Korea especially, maintaining that slim figure has often been associated with self-management and also confidence. So beyond the medication itself, it is worth looking at why people feel such strong pressure to lose weight. So why is dieting and losing weight such a major focus among Koreans?
I mean, this preference for slim bodies, it exists in many countries, but specifically for Korea and for young women, they tend to place a particularly strong emphasis on being thin because many Korea's beauty icons who are popular globally, like actors, K-pop idols, and influencers have very, very slim physiques, and this reinforces this ideal. And Korean society itself, as you mentioned, has been long looking at being slim as self-disciplinary and a form of good self-management. So it's more than just the appearance. And according to a survey of Koreans' attitudes towards dieting, it said 70% had attempted to lose weight within this past year, and 73% said dieting is a lifelong challenge.
Very relatable.
Yeah, I think I'm part of that 73%. And reflecting this culture, 41% of respondents said that they'd be willing to use weight loss medications or injections to help them lose weight.
I think those numbers are actually really true because I think when you mentioned at the beginning, you tried protein shakes, intermittent fasting, and I was like, I've done all of that too.
All the fads, yes.
So it seems the popularity of these treatments has created a new debate. So where do we draw the line between medical treatment and cosmetic weight loss? While they can be helpful for people who need them, concerns are growing over how they're being used. And that brings us to one of the biggest concerns surrounding these drugs, whether they're being used appropriately. So are weight loss injections being misused as diet shortcuts often these days, Hyun?
So as Nadia mentioned, many young people today are influenced by celebrities, idols, and influencers. So social media often shows a certain body image as an ideal standard, and quite a lot of people actually really want to achieve that image. So because of that, GLP-1 medications have also raised concerns about misuse. Some people are starting to view these treatments almost like miracle diet solutions rather than medical treatments. There have been concerns that even people who don't medically need these medications are using them just for appearance. And because these drugs are not fully covered by insurance in Korea, there are also concerns about excessive prescriptions and illegal distribution.
So while these medications may offer a new option for people struggling with obesity, they also raise questions about lifestyle, health, and how we define the best way to lose weight. And ultimately, choosing a weight loss method is a very personal decision, and everyone may have a different perspective. So now I want to ask you, so say you became obese, would you consider using or turning to weight loss drugs?
You know, I wouldn't be completely against it. And for some cases, it really is necessary. I did have a friend who really struggled after some steroid treatments. And sometimes it's about that swelling, and it's not even about how much you're eating. And it's so hard to tackle beyond just a few kilos. But I think the key thing about these drugs is that you take them, and while you are reducing your diet a little bit, you do need to exercise and maintain it so that when you do go off the drug, that you can maintain that lifestyle rather than bouncing right back and then going back to the drug once again. So it's buying you that time to build a certain type of lifestyle.
Right. So what about you, Tayo?
Well, personally, I would be very cautious about using weight loss medication. From my own experience, I learned that losing weight is not just about changing the number on a scale, but I think it's about building healthier habits that you can maintain for a long time. However, I do understand that these treatments can be really helpful for people who medically need them. I just think that it should be used as a medical solution, not simply as a shortcut for changing our appearance.
Right, I think many people could agree with that. So with weight loss medications becoming a major topic of conversation, people have different opinions on whether they're a helpful tool or simply a shortcut. And that's why we wanted to know what our viewers would be most excited to experience and what they would be willing to turn to this. So we ran a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel asking, would you use weight loss injections or medication? Here's what the results showed. So the majority, 63%, said they would not use them, while 27% said they would consider using them only if they became obese. Another 10% said they'd be willing to use weight loss medications even if they were not obese. So these results show that while many people are still cautious about weight loss medication, there's still a growing openness toward using them as a potential tool, especially when it comes to treating obesity. So to learn more about the rise of weight loss medications and how people are approaching dieting in general today, we're going to hear from our guest living in the US right now about this, and that conversation will take place right after a break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're now joined by Youngbin, a doctoral student currently studying in the US who has first-hand experience using a doctor-recommended weight management treatment. So hello, Youngbin. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello all. Thank you for having me today.
All right, Youngbin. So what led you personally to seek weight loss medication as a health option, and what was your experience like going on these medications?
So the main reason is that I gained more than 40 pounds after I came to the US to study, and I wanted to lose it before my job market season started. So I started a strict diet and 2 or more hours at the gym every day, and I lost about 20 pounds, and I hit a plateau. Same diet, same gym routine, nothing moved for almost a month. That's when I decided to try medical help, which is GLP-1. About my experience with it, at the low dose, I didn't feel anything. So I thought it wasn't working, but then I noticed I was eating less without trying. I'm on the third step now, 7.5, and this is where the side effects show up to me. The nausea lingers, and at this point, I don't think about food at all. And also about a day after the weekly shot, I get so exhausted that I plan a nap for the next day. But it got me out of the plateau, so I am happy with it overall.
Thank you, Youngbin. So have you noticed more people around you in the US using weight loss medications? And have you seen any cases of misuse or overuse?
It's pretty common to see people around me get a prescription, and I also see a lot of online ads for telemedicine prescriptions saying it is easy to get prescription online and they will deliver it to your door. And as for misuse, I've heard it. It used to be much easier to get prescribed and covered, basically if your BMI was over 30, but unfortunately, my insurance denied it. Part of why it got harder is that a lot of people were getting these drugs for purely aesthetic reasons. And now that the pill versions are approved, access is much wider. So I would assume the misuse numbers have gone up too. Personally, though, I believe obesity is a serious medical condition, and treating it like a cosmetic choice is main part of the problem of misuse.
All right, this is the last question we have for you today. So what is a dieting trend that you've seen in the US or elsewhere that was very shocking to you? And what would you say is the healthiest way to manage weight?
Well, the most surprising trend is how many protein products suddenly appeared. After the GLP-1 boom, the food industry here started putting out protein version of everything. Even in my favorite coffee chain has a lot of protein options now. What surprised me more is that a lot of them are still basically sugar or carbs with some protein added. The industry caught on fast to the fact that GLP-1 users are told to eat more protein so they don't lose muscle. As for the healthiest way, I am still, working on it. I think it's still working out and eating clean. Sounds like a very much a cliche, but I believe it. The thing is, when you're already doing all of that, and if you hit a plateau like I did, GLP-1 prescription is a reasonable option. I lost another 20 pounds in 10 weeks, and also my blood pressure came back to normal, and working out got much easier. So I believe medication isn't a replacement for the work. It gives you a chance to get healthier, and then you keep building from there.
Right. So before I let you go, I want to ask you, so you mentioned you've experienced nausea. So do you think GLP medication is something you still want to continue, or do you want to try? Like you mentioned how the pills have been approved. Is that something, another option that you'd consider?
Personally, it is bearable, basically. It is not, for me, it is not really severe problem. For me personally, the most surprising thing is that I always feel super tired after a day, after the day of I getting the weekly shot. So if you're plan ahead, and if you know that type of a nausea or tiredness is coming up, if you're plan ahead and ready for it, I think GLP-1 medicine is still the best option out there if you really wanted to lose your weight with some medical help. That's what I believe.
Right. All right. So it was so interesting to hear a first-time experience. So thank you so much for coming on today, Youngbin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a great day.
You too. So we heard different perspectives from someone living in the US, and that gave us a glimpse into how dieting culture can vary across countries, and we also heard a first-hand experience of what GLP treatment looks like. But regardless of where we live, many people face the same struggles when trying to lose weight. So what do you think is the hardest part of dieting now?
I think it's the mental game, right? It's not about the actual hunger, but constantly thinking about every type of food that you could be eating. It's like self-torture, but in that way, the GLP-1 drugs that we've been talking about perhaps really helps you maintain that as well.
I think for me, whenever I diet, I see great, delicious looking food, and I have to stop myself from eating. It's actually just makes me kind of sad.
Everyone is always partying when you're on a diet. That's just the universal rule.
Exactly. That's what it feels like. So what are your thoughts on this?
That's quite relatable because I love food first, and then I'm the kind of person who thinks like almost every food in the world is so delicious. So for me, the hardest part was actually not exercising, but controlling my eating habits.
That's so true. Right. I can relate to that.
And one thing, I think social situations are also very challenging. So when you meet friends or have company dinners, it's not really easy to say like I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to drink or eat anything, right? So whenever I overeat or drink too much, then the next day I just ask myself, okay, so what was so delicious that day higher? Then I just go back to the gym and then continue my healthy routine.
Right. So losing weight isn't just about knowing what to eat or which methods to follow. It also involves daily habits, emotions, and even social situations. So with so many different approaches from dieting and exercise to weight loss medications, the question remains. So this is the big question. So what do you think is the healthiest way to diet now?
So I think the key is maintenance. It's not about this quick thing that you can do, but what you can sustain. So I can seriously no longer starve myself. I need to be full. And that way you need to find a diet that actually fills you up. I've been trying keto recently, not to the fullest, but I'm really cutting down on carbs and trying to fill myself up with healthy protein, whether it be actual meat, animal meat, or healthy options like the one that Yongbit mentioned. So it fills me. I'm not as hungry, and therefore I won't go back and eat like crazy. So we'll see how long I can go for, but I'm really hoping to find something that I can healthily sustain, not to the extreme.
Right, I think sustaining that pattern of life is the most important part, and making sure you feel full is, I think, really important. So, you've lost 30 kilos. So, what is your the healthiest way of dieting?
Well, for me, I think the best approach is like creating a healthy lifestyle that you can maintain. I think it's about like having balanced meals, exercise regularly, and building healthier habits that you can maintain in the long term. And before starting a diet, I think people should ask themselves one important question. Why do I want to lose weight? So for some people, weight management is necessary for their health, but for others, they may feel pressure because of unrealistic beauty standards in our society. So what I want to say is everyone has their own beauty, and the most important thing is taking care of yourself and feeling confident in who you are.
Right. So weight loss medications may be changing the way people approach dieting, but there is no real one-size-fits-all solution. Whether it's medication, exercise, or lifestyle changes, lasting results still depend on building healthy habits. At the end of the day, the goal should be better health, not just a lower number on the scale. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Hayu.
My pleasure.
And also Niall.
No problem.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And remember, the healthiest thing to shed might not always be kilos. It might just be the weight of unrealistic expectations. We are News Generation.
Time to set the facts straight. Get Korea right. K-culture is sweeping the globe. K-pop, K-drama, K-movie, K-food, and even K-beauty. Korean cultural content is gaining more and more fans worldwide. It's indeed the golden age of K-culture. But with this growing interest comes an increase in misinformation about Korea. There's so much inaccurate information out there. Even AI can sometimes get it wrong. So, we must set things straight and correct all the misinformation. So here's the plan. The Voluntary Agency Network of Korea, VANK, and Arirang TV present the Get Korea Right project. Our goal is to provide accurate information on important keywords that come to mind when we think of Korea. Blatant errors and false claims that distort history. It's time to set the record straight, sharing the true history and culture of Korea while raising the national brand. Let's get started with Get Korea Right. Are you ready to join?
Are you curious about Korean cultural heritage?
If you are a fan of Korean culture and history, listen up. Korean cultural heritage is based on a 5,000-year history.
The whole country is like a massive museum because it possesses such diverse cultural properties. Let's not wait any longer and take a look.
First, for beginners, for those who are not familiar with Korea, let's start with the world-famous list.
You can see how Korea's beautiful traditional patterns and historical features have been preserved.
And don't forget to experience Korea's intangible cultural heritage. From Gangang-sulrae to Talchum, there's just so many exciting cultural heritages to experience.
These are for intermediate level tourists who have already visited Korea and its famous attractions. You might even be standing in a World Heritage Site right now.
How about searching for intangible cultural heritage that you can experience? 한소리, 제주 해녀 diving, 김장. Make some unforgettable memories while having fun.
Last but not least, the advanced level. It's the memory of the World Register. Korea possesses an extensive documentary heritage. Korea is serious about documentation and preservation.
A tour of Korean cultural heritage will become a legacy of your own.
Why not make your own Korean cultural heritage travel